Hello out there, I'm the oldest nerd. Another bottle episode where there's no danger to the crew and Crichton is even barely needed in this story. But as usual, this is one of the better Farscape episodes. It starts with Chiana finding an old recording that shows Moya's original pilot of over 20 cycles was executed by the Peacekeepers and replaced by the current pilot about 3 cycles ago. And Aaron was one of the Peacekeepers who was on the firing squad. The episode centers on the backstory of Aaron and Pilot. Of some interest here, it's the voice of the first pilot, portrayed by Melissa Jaffer. She was the Luxon High Priestess in the Vitas Mortis episode and will later be a cast regular as Naranti, who Crichton calls Granny. Also, you'll notice a difference or two of Pilot in the present and when he is first joined to Moya. Notably, the shell on the top of his head was smaller in the flashbacks. It was pointed out that Pilot was too young to be joined and not considered worthy. Also, Pilot was not naturally joined to Moya, which would take a cycle or two, but was forced to endure a painful fast procedure with lasting pain. And what's the deal with Crichton? He seems reasonably level-headed in sharp contrast to the other post-Aurora Chair episodes. Now, our big question is, why didn't Aaron know that she had been on Moya before? This is a question that was asked by the other characters. Aaron didn't know one Leviathan from another. She said she'd been on hundreds of them and didn't meet the prisoners. So add to that Peacekeepers don't think about the past or too far into the future. They were trained to follow orders and get on with the next thing. Or maybe not. Valoric, our guest star this week, her new superior officer at the time, had taken her from marauder duty to piloting a shuttle with a payload she didn't know or have any curiosity about. He, however, saw something special in her. She didn't understand that he was in love with her and was confused that sex with him didn't follow the usual Peacekeeper protocols, which was a very mechanical act just for biological reasons. There wasn't anything of love put into that. Reproduction and raising children was all something that was very, as everything else in the Peacekeepers was, very regimented. Anyway, one of the interesting things that we find out from this character is that he tells Aaron that Crace is basically a madman. Now, this is long before his encounter with Crichton, so it's not a new development, and that's an interesting little thing there as well. The distraction might have caused her to forget the minor details of the ship and a routine murder, seeing that she was in a situation where she thought perhaps that she was in love, but really didn't know what to do with those emotions, not having really had them before. Pilot, on the other hand, was in more of a rage than we've ever seen him. Following last week's episode where he speaks more as an independent being rather than sharing a mind with Moya, here he reacts what most of the other characters would consider to be over the top. As Crichton observes, chop off his arm and all he can muster is a few snotty remarks. But here he was really upset. There are repressed memories on the part of Pilot as well as where he's as culpable as Aaron for the death of his predecessor, and this is really the reason that he had such a reaction. And it tells this story to kind of remind us that we've all made choices we regret, and sometimes in the time frame of the choice, we'll tell ourselves we had no choice. It's rarely the case. We either wanted something, as Aaron and Pilot did, or wanted to avoid something. We also try to bury the memory, as our characters did. In the end, we have to live with the fact that we're not as good as we tell ourselves, and we have to move on. We have to try to do better. Aaron and Pilot have equal culpability and equal guilt when it all comes out. However, they now have each other to help work through it, and that's the lesson of the episode. Once again, another very well-written, well-acted, and you believe that Pilot is an actual character rather than a puppet. Possibly because he's bigger than human, whereas Rigel always looks kind of like a demented Kermit. It's difficult not to see in the subtlety of the way the puppet is done, of just how feelings are projected. And Lanny Tupu, who does the voice of Pilot as well as playing Christ, is very skilled in acting through just his voice. So that's what we have this time. We hope that you will join us on Thursday when Professor O will join me, and we're going to talk The Hunt for Red October with Sean Connery and the late Sam Neill, among others. So until then, thank you for joining us. Don't forget to subscribe. And until next time, don't go far.